Boy, I'll tell you that there's nobody better at keeping themselves in the news, in the current events cycle, in the wrestling business than CM Punk. This fucking guy, every single week, every other week, it's always something with CM Punk. The continuing drama unfolds, the ever-evolving story of CM Punk. Look, I've always said I'm an unabashed fan of CM Punk. But, you know, after that whole all-out, brawl-out thing, I took a big hit. You know, my fandom took a big hit. And I've been kind of a little bit on the fence, I suppose, of CM Punk. And just kind of watching from afar. I like some of the things he's doing. And then some of the other things I really don't. But he is continuing to stir shit up, if you will. This was a guy that tried to stay as low under the radar when he was out of the wrestling business as humanly possible. And now he just cannot help himself but to stir shit up. Multiple stories emerging this week of CM Punk, all stemming from a particular episode of Collision, or possibly a couple episodes of Collision. But it all got stirred up and got people talking after this particular segment from last week's episode of Collision with CM Punk and FTR after the show, having just a fun little chat with the fans out in the crowd. And one of those fans, wouldn't you know it, had a camera phone on him. Could you believe that? A phone with a fucking camera on it? Did they not check this man before he entered the building? Check out this clip.
Today, I went to a local supermarket and I figured out why they call him Hangman. It's because the pegs in the toy aisle are full of Hangman action figures because nobody wants to buy them.
Oh! You son of a bitch!
He's a peg warmer. Unlike me, who moves merchandise and pops ratings and sells toys. Okay, everybody in AEW say, I'm the heart, I'm the soul, I'm the spirit. Well, that's objective. What is a fact is the people who say that certainly aren't the chin of AEW, because the lights go out faster than what? GTS, go to sleep. I don't know what I'm trying to do. I got locked too. I told the House of Black no chops, and the chop makes them very mad.
He can't help himself. He can't help himself. After everything was simmered down, the dust was settling, it was fucking coming to a rest. You even had Kenny Omega say somewhere, was it on Dynamite, when he said, yeah, he cut the promo about re-signing the contract or whatever. He said, heck, even Collision, which we haven't seen as of yet as far as them appearing on AEW content. But boy, it would sure seem like it's a work, would it not? Seems like maybe they are trying to stir something up. Of course, Tony Khan was asked about the situation. He was being interviewed on the BattleGround podcast. He was sitting there talking with the boys. And God bless them. They tried to ask. It was the weakest, most timid, fucking pathetic excuse for a journalistic question to ask Tony Khan. They were shaking in their boots like they were asking Vince McMahon or something. Dr. D. But here they asked Tony Khan about these CM Punk comments after Collision. Check out this clip.
There was some, we'll call it speed bumps in 2022. Those are in the rearview mirror. And I think you guys have really kind of, whatever you want to call it, focused or, steered the ship and kind of got over those speed bumps. There has been a few little rumblings going on recently. And, if this is a no comment thing, we totally respect that. Mr. Punk said some words about Mr. Hangman Adam Page Saturday night for Collision after their loss to the House of Black. Any comment on that? I mean, was that planned? Is it leading to a program? There's also, I think, was it Meltzer about? I think Meltzer said so. He had been denied entrance to the arena that night or something. Is there any kind of clarification you can kind of give us on any of that?
No, not really.
Moving on. That's all we needed.
I thought it was a great show Saturday night, and I don't have any further comment to that, but I am glad people are still very interested in our wrestlers and what's happening after the wrestling shows. I think we'll try to have a couple great shows this week, but certainly there has been a lot of interest in what's happening in AEW in and out of the ring.
Those poor guys. Look, give me a fucking job. Put me, if you're watching this, put me on your channel. Hire me to do your interviews. I'll get the tough questions. I'll ask. I'll push. I'll pry. I'll hold him down and I'll hold his eyeballs open and make him watch weird stuff till he fesses up. I'll get the answers. I'm a professional podcast journalist. Bless these boys' hearts. They were so, sir. I mean, if you would like to answer, you don't have to answer, but you probably won't want to answer. But if you could humor us and even maybe thinking about answering our question, just ask them. Get to the bottom of the dirt. What's going on with the CM Punk promo? Is it a work? Is it not a work? Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful had a whole lot of information to go with this situation. And this is where all the other stuff started to leak out as well. And, of course, Meltzer and Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer, have been horrendous this week with this fucking pushing this narrative. You can hear it in their tone of voice. They are so partial. They are so anti-Punk. They are so, like... a lot of but we're going to analyze every little step of this. But for this, we are going to check out a couple clips from The Hump, which is the newest podcast from Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful owner Jimmy Van. This was a show that they do every single week called The List and Your Boy on Wednesdays. But they were wanting to change the name, and they made it. They call it The Hump. So now it's The Hump. Same show. And they were talking about this. Jimmy Van, the owner of Fightful, asked Sean Ross Sapp, one of the top wrestling journalists in the business right now, always gets the good scoops, to elaborate and talk about all the information that he's been getting out of the AEW locker room in and around Collision, CM Punk, and the whole drama situation, starting with the Hangman Page reaction and promo. Check out this clip.
After Collision went off the air last Saturday, Punk cut that promo on Hangman Page. Now, I am not the kind of guy that thinks that everything is a work. And sure. you know how it is, Sean. Some people think everything is, including the Montreal Screwjob. I'm not that kind of person, but when I saw that promo, I thought it was a work at first because it came out of nowhere. And so I thought, oh, they're going to be working together. They're working things out. Why the hell is he cutting a promo on Hangman Page? So I thought it was a work. Apparently it wasn't. And this is the first thing that I'll ask you. I believe it was Meltzer that reported that Punk intended for it to be a joke. If he did, it was a shitty one, but apparently he intended for it to be a joke, realized that it came out poorly, and texted Page to apologize. Have you heard anything to that effect?
Yeah, I know that he did text Hangman Page, and I can tell you that in my interactions around this situation, I know, like, I don't believe in coincidences very much, because the reports that Hangman Page was told they weren't going to do the vignette at the building or whatever it was that he was filming. But people on his side and people on Punk's side also were like, he wasn't at the building to get kicked out, and we didn't know anything about that. Like, I never got it confirmed that Hangman Page was at the building, and Punk seemed genuinely confused as to the Hangman thing. That being said, Punk took complete responsibility for Ryan Nemeth and Christopher Daniels, which we will get into. But when people say, and they ask me, is it a work? Well, to me, a work involves two parties at least. And this was not a work. Maybe Punk was looking to work something, but Hangman wasn't. Same thing, like I pointed out with the MJF thing last year. Up at some point, it became that way, but unless all parties are working together, it is not a work. It is one person working or trying to work, and that's what this was. Punk does want to meet with the Elite. He does want to talk with the Elite. You could understand why the Elite wouldn't want to. There's a lot to unpack.
So again, I go back to that promo where the Elite cut on the 200th episode of Dynamite where they re-signed and they mentioned Collision by name. That was something that they could show up on. Was that just a teaser just to troll us, or was that a hint that they're open? Now, CM Punk knows goddamn well there's cameras rolling at the end of Collision, especially because Punk and FTR always get on the mic after Collision and talk to the crowd. So the crowd has been trained, at least the smart fans anyway, have been trained to know that this is what happens after Collision and to maybe have your camera on because it's going to be fun. And it doesn't air on TV, right? You want to be the guy that gets it up on the internet. Punk knows that. Tony Khan knows that. Almost all of this could be a mastermind work. People still think Brawl Out could be a work and the fallout from all of that. Whether that was or not, either way, they could have came back and agreed when Punk came back to do business together, but pretend that they can't do business together. And do this fucking this is the new kayfabe, right? And that's something I always give Sam Roberts credit for because he's always on the new kayfabe thing. But he's absolutely right. That's kind of something he coined, but that's what it is. It's using the internet. It's using the blurred lines of reality because wrestling fans are so smart now. And they think they know everything, including myself. I'm not an elitist about this. I'm a mark like you guys. Don't believe anything I say on here. Take it all with a grain of salt. I'm a fucking nerd. I get my news from these guys. So it's a smart way to work everybody. Everybody thinks they know everything. So if you can plant things in the sheets and you can say things off camera, maybe, just maybe, those are ways that you can build actual anticipation for a huge match. But I don't know that I'm ready to give them that kind of credit yet, because even with the Young Bucks and FTR being such a mega huge match that we've all kind of been craving for, I don't hear them really building it up to be the biggest tag team match in the history of AEW, which they should. So are you going to go through such an elaborate, long, intricate, worked, shoot, kayfabe blurring angle and then just barely put it over on your actual show? It's kind of weird. So I don't know. I tend to think that it is real. And Punk just can't help himself, which is fine. It's funny to me. I mean, I laughed, People in the crowd were laughing. I think in that clip you can hear somebody in the crowd going, "You son of a bitch," but in like a tongue-in-cheek way, like, "Oh, snap. You said the thing." Punk's just having fun, but it continues to be at the expense of people that are just sensitive little crybabies. I mean, if I was Hangman Page, I'd be doing the same shit with CM Punk and getting myself some attention too. Right? I'd be shutting down Dynamite and being like, "Oh, CM Punk this and CM Punk that." The funny part is that CM Punk is also a sensitive little bitch, just in a different way. As Sean Ross Sapp would continue, we got into a situation with Ryan Nemeth, the brother of Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. Ryan Nemeth, the Hollywood hunk, has a part-time contract with AEW. And apparently he got himself in some heat with CM Punk and got under CM Punk's skin and showed what kind of a sensitive fuck that CM Punk is. All touchy and shit. He can't take a joke. He can dish the jokes, but he can't take them. He can dish the shots, but he can't take them. Check out this clip.
Well, a lot of info has come out since that promo showed up on YouTube and on Twitter. And it looks like there's still some very real issues between Punk and AEW and certain members of the locker room. You broke a lot of news this week on Fightful Select. Summarize it for us, Sean. You already alluded to the thing about wrestlers supposedly couldn't go to Collision, whether it be Chris Daniels, Matt Hardy, whoever. Summarize for us about that and the Jack Perry thing. Summarize what's come up lately.
So I'll go through this chronologically as we know it. After CM Punk's return promo, which, by the way, him coming back also led to Ace Steel coming back to the company in some capacity. On Fightful Select, right after this, I'll have details on what he's doing and not doing. But Ryan Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler's brother, who was on a part-time AEW deal, tweeted, literally the softest man alive. CM Punk was asked to go to Dynamite the following week because, everybody involved isn't dumb. They know that the Elite was going to get booed in Chicago, so bring CM Punk there instead. CM Punk, in front of the locker room, said to Ryan Nemeth, like, you got a problem? Do you want to go handle this? In front of the locker room. And Ryan requested that they go out in the hall and talk privately, and Punk was much like, we can go outside and settle it. They agreed to go in the hall. Ryan Nemeth said he was just getting heat. CM Punk's the top guy. That's what he was trying to do, is get that heat. Punk said that tensions were high and that everybody was trying to move past it. I'll share my opinion after, because I want this part, the recounting, to say objective.
Factual, yeah.
They shook hands. Nemeth said he wouldn't tweet about it anymore. That's a wrap. So fast forward to this past weekend, and I am notified that Ryan Nemeth was brought into Collision and then was backstage and then is immediately sent away from Collision and told that he wasn't needed and he's got a flight home. CM Punk he was the catalyst for Ryan Nemeth not being there, and said that he didn't want Ryan Nemeth in catering, much less wrestling on Collision. Don't know how that plays out, but then word came out that he also didn't want Christopher Daniels on the show because Christopher Daniels is a buddy of the Bucks and was involved in Brawl Out in breaking it up, and didn't think it was fair that if Ace Steel wasn't there, that Christopher Daniels wasn't there. And to be clear, Ace Steel is not allowed in the building as of now. We'll have more on that on Fightful Select after this, but
fragile mind, fragile body, fragile ego. Look, I don't think that you can talk out of one side of your mouth and take shots at Hangman Page and be like, I'm just having fun, joking around, and then get all butt hurt and try to fight the fucking undercard, halftime, part-time jobber guy in front of everybody at that for talking shit out of the other side of your mouth. You know what you do in those situations if you're a true locker room heel. He is a true locker room heel, a Freudian slip if there ever was one, right? You know what you do if you're a true locker room leader, right? And you're a man and you're a confident man and you're self-assured. You go, who? Who said what, huh? Now, if it continues, it becomes a problem, like a problem, then yeah, you can address it. And you still don't do it in front of everybody. CM Punk, it's an ego thing. It's a power trip. He's trying to be Mr. Macho, Mr. Tough Guy. Mr. Boss Man. He's trying to show off in front of everybody else and make a fucking statement. Right? That's the only reason you do that. You fucking confront him and challenge him to a fight in front of the entire locker room. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Now, that's one half of it, but on the other half of it, do you want Nick Nemeth in your locker room? No, I agree with that. If it's going to be, you can brush it off and be like, Nick, who, huh? I don't care. Whatever. If he says something, you don't need to go be a bully about it. On the same token, you can remember that. And if this is your show and your final say, and look, here's something that here's the angle a lot of people aren't really addressing here, is that the Young Bucks don't want Punk on Dynamite. The Elite don't want Punk on Dynamite. They don't want his boys on Dynamite. Ace Steel can't just show up there. FTR hasn't really been there. Though it doesn't seem like FTR and the Bucks have issues, at the very least, no issues working with each other. Maybe now, maybe it was like Matt Jackson that fucking Cash Wheeler pulled a gun on out in the fucking... But you get my point here. You get my point. If Dynamite's locker room is prejudice against Punk's camp can be prejudice against Bucks camp. You could call it petty, but you could also say you don't want drama in your locker room. You don't have to confront Nick Nemeth about or Ryan Nemeth or whoever the fuck, Joe Nemeth. You don't need to confront the Hollywood hunk in front of everybody, but you can remember it, and you can say, "Yeah, we don't need you on Collision. We're good without you. We'll book other people." It's fine. He's got a job over on Dynamite with his buddies, right? He gets along with them better there. That's where he belongs. He doesn't need to be here. We don't need the drama in our locker room. And that's the same with Matt Hardy. You know, Matt Hardy was allegedly also told to go home, or that his presence was not wanted or needed. Now, Matt Hardy is not a known drama king by any stretch, but he is certainly, I hesitate to say his nose is completely up the ass of the Young Bucks, but in the vein of the Matt Hardy podcast vernacular, I would say that Matt Hardy is half-ass brown-nosed up the ass of the Young Bucks. So, yeah, get him out of the locker room, too. You don't want anybody in there that's going to be running over and trying to, say shit. Oh, this is what Paul... You want people that want to be there, people that are going to be part of the team. You don't want fucking stooges and politics and little girls that are going to tweet about you later and all that other shit. So both of them are in the wrong. Punk overreacted as usual. He's a dick. Like even in that clip where he says, the House of Black chopped me. I told him no chops. I'm angry. He said it tongue in cheek, but he goes back there. He's like, hey guys, the fuck? I told you no chops. Punk takes his shit a little bit too seriously, and he's got a big mouth and a big ego. And talks a whole lot of shit for a guy that really doesn't like a whole lot of shit being talked back his direction. Somebody who's got nuts to take him out in the street if they would like to, if Punk would like to, should be the person to say those kind of things to Punk. Because I think Ryan Nemeth was right. Punk is fragile. He's weak. He's soft. Maybe not physically. He'll fight you. But his ego is soft, for sure. Fragile might be a better word. But we were not done there, because now we get into the Jungle Boy drama. Because Jungle Boy Jack Perry is not immune from the wrath of CM Punk either. Check out this clip.
Shortly after that, I don't want to say shortly after that, whenever they were in Canada, Jack Perry was at Collision. He's not usually at Collision. he had wanted to do a segment where he went through real glass. Now, there were medical producers, Tony Schiavone, all said, it's not a good idea. That's how you get hurt. CM Punk's belief was that he wanted to do it so he didn't have to come to work the next week. Now, I want to make this clear. I reached out to Jack Perry as well. I didn't hear back. I don't know if when Punk claimed that he meant, well, he was just trying to film it ahead. That way he didn't have to come to work the next week, or he's trying to get himself hurt so he doesn't have to come there. But it's something that he sees as a big problem within AEW and the roster. According to Punk's side, he was asked to step in and talk to Jack Perry. Now, I just want to say, this information was offered up. Like I asked about it, but this information was offered up. So for anybody that's like, oh, well, funny that this comes out after it. Well, I just got the details at the same time that I got the Ryan Nemeth details. So, I mean, don't know what to tell you guys. I had some people say, well, you called it an argument and it was more of a disagreement. Well, when CM Punk says this is how we do things on Collision, and if you don't like it, don't come to Collision, stay on Wednesdays. How else do you want to take that? Punk's claim was that Jack Perry was throwing a temper tantrum. Again, there were plenty of people that agreed, that didn't repeat the temper tantrum thing, but said, yeah, it was an argument. And yeah, we understand you don't use real glass. And then shortly thereafter, Jimmy, without us knowing that was part of the catalyst, we had reported all those guidelines that were put into place.
This one I'm actually okay with. Real glass? What the fuck are you even talking about? How long have you been in the business? Actually, quite a few years. That's besides the point. You're still you're a newbie. Jack Perry is not in a position to just be, oh yeah, I want to use real glass. Fuck off with that shit. At least on Collision, right? So Punk, I guess Punk was asked to step in and have an opinion on that. He's like, no, we are not going to do that here. So, and we have heard things about Jack Perry before, that he's got a little bit of an attitude problem, so it wouldn't surprise me if he got kind of whiny and complainy and bitchy and pouty about that. And Punk has every right to be like, well, you know what? Fuck off here too then, I guess. You know what I mean? We don't need you here either. Here's the the bigger deal. Because there was also the story with Christopher Daniels, right? The head of talent relations. It's not even allowed at fucking at Collision. But, he's also, in with the Bucks, tight with the Bucks, and he was in that locker room. So there could still be a legal situation that we don't know about to where they shouldn't be around each other. Who knows? But at the end of the day, if there isn't legal, even if there is legal, let's get your lawyers and all sit down at the table and go look. Tony Khan's got to put his balls on the table and be a boss here. And other people have said that this week too. You gotta. There shouldn't even be. There's two brands. They are a separate brand. There are some people that will cross over, but by all accounts, these are two completely separate shows with mostly separate rosters and really run. The locker one is the CM Punk locker room, and one is the Elite locker room. And there's even to the point where there's even rumors that Punk has secret EVP powers, which wouldn't surprise me, by the way. Chris Jericho was offered EVP powers when he was first signed to AEW, and he turned them down, but he's still is an EVP without title. He's still heavily involved in everything. He's got Tony's ear. He's in on decisions. He runs meetings. He helps with creative. He's a figurehead backstage. He's essentially an EVP without a title. Bryan Danielson's taken on some responsibilities there too, but has Punk been given, when Cody left, that left essentially an opening that was there. And I would assume Tony probably learned his lesson that he just is better off not having EVPs, even though Kenny and the Bucks have re-signed as EVPs. Makes me wonder if Punk had somewhere in his contract that he would have EVP powers to a certain extent. Similar to what Cody might have had or that Jericho has now without the title. And just has it without the title like Chris Jericho. Sounds like it because Punk runs Collision. That's his show. Two very different shows. But Tony Khan's the boss of both companies. And he needs to kind of tell them all to fuck off and work together. There's money to be made here with all parties. You get CMFTR versus the Elite. That's one way you can absolutely go here. Punk and Hangman one-on-one at All In or All Out would be fantastic. That'd be a really good way to start. But there's no reason to not do this. Put your egos aside. You can't just start a whole separate show and just think that you can maintain completely separate rosters. Put them in different sides of the building, different locker rooms, different times of the day. And essentially run two different companies at the same time just to appease everybody's egos. Be the biggest ego in the room. And tell everybody, shut the fuck up. You work for me. Go work find somewhere else you can work where you can, tell the boss what to do. Go ahead, look for it, and make this kind of money and have this kind of television exposure and so on. I think that would shut everybody up real quick. Because even the Young Bucks going to WWE ain't going to go over there and start making demands that SmackDown's their show and that nobody else can go over there. CM Punk sure as fuck ain't going to do that either. Punk has fuck you money. Maybe not. There was a rumor that he might have needs the paycheck. I don't know about all that though. Punk should be relatively wealthy and have fuck you money. So it's easier for him to walk away altogether and just not come back and do wrestling. But we don't need the divide. Let's just put your balls on the table. Let's get everybody together. Hey, let's work together. Bury it. You don't got to like each other. You don't got to hang out. We'll keep you on separate shows still even. We'll do all that. But this back and forth has to stop. And let's get a match in the ring. And if you guys want to throw a few live rounds, go for it. But at the end of the day, let's make some money and put on a good show for the fans because that's why we're all here and in this business. And when you look back at your childhood and you remember all the great storylines and everything, you'll know that if you were a kid watching this and knowing all of this, that you would want nothing more to see that. Pull your heads out of your ass. Do some good business. Let's put on a show.
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah. And you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Ooh yeah. Dig it.